Good evening, everyone. This is Sachin Gupta here. I'm your property expert. You can call it, you can call me property guru. This is our property podcast today. Uh, I've been in the industry for about 18 years. I'm a fully qualified realtor. Arla, NAA, NAVA, LLAS. I have a lot of qualification and experience. My ultimate goal today will be to guide to all of you who watch MATV. Being in the industry, what I've recently learned is that to educate the client, and it is so essential that you understand how the letting laws are changing. I hope you have heard about the things called Renters Reform Bill, which is coming by the end of October. You will find that bill will become a law. So today we're going to talk about that as well. At the same time, there are a lot of other things are changing, especially like your tenancy agreements. Maybe your tenants are staying for 5 years, 10 years, but then all your tenancies become infinity. So we'll discuss about that. Even the sales market, how that going through right now, and other factors, we will be seeing it. I can also take live calls or any questions. I can speak in Hindi, I can speak in Gujarati, and English is my preferred language, but whatever. As a listener, you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact on the number given below. Uh, to know more about us, obviously you can visit the website as well, which is given below again. Let's discuss about Renters Reform Bill and what it is. So as you know, whenever you found the tenants, what you do is generally you sign AST, Assured Short Hold Tenancy Agreement. What's that? That tenancy is for a short period, for specific time. It's like 6 months, it could be 12 months, it could be 24 months. But now what is going to happen is in the coming time is once that bill become law, all your ongoing tenancies, whether you sign for 2 months, whether you sign for 6 months or you sign for 1 year, it will become infinity. What does mean is it become periodic tenancies, and that tenancies are forever. Now, thing is that obviously you guys will be as a client, obviously as a landlord in the property sector, you are generally worried that okay, how soon I can change the tenants if I want to change the tenants, or how soon I can increase my rent if you want a more rental amount, or maybe serving notice. So one of the thing I like to highlight here today is the section 21, which is the mostly commonly used tenants, the notice. That notice will not be there for you because that's going to be get abolished. So that notice will not be in the market any longer to use, and instead of that you need to use section 8. So what is section 21? Let's understand a little bit. Whenever you need your property back, you used to send the 2 months notice to your tenants, and tenant must leave, otherwise you can literally go to any county court applicable for your property area, and you get a possession, because what this says in section 21 is that judge must grant a possession, and it's a non-fault eviction, means tenant is not at fault, but still you're taking your property back. Now that is going to be end. So what will happen is now the tenant has to be at fault if you want to evict them. Your wish only will not be granted anymore. So obviously what will happen then is you need to find that is it tenant at fault. If it's not, then they will be there forever. So this renters reform bill is going to give a great security to your tenants. They are there almost forever. Now there are some clauses which government going to implement into the bill once it's become law as well. That which is the second last stage right now in the parliament. This bill is going to discuss. So what I wanted you to know is that you will be requiring a very solid reason. And let me give you some example what kind of solid reason you need to have if you want your property back after October once this bill become law, as I stated earlier. So a couple of handful which are the main reason. For example, you want to sell your property. Yes. If you want to sell the property, you will be requiring to serve your tenants a notice of at least 4 months. The notice period will be 4 months. And you have to genuinely list your property. And this is not the only thing that you just tell your tenants that, okay, I want my property back, and you just putting the for sale board, you're putting the property in the market, but that's not your intention. You don't want to sell the property. You're just showing that it will be on the sale. And then once the tenant is left and you can relet the property. No, that will not be allowed. It will be prohibited. What will happen is, once you list your property for sale, and if tenants are moved out, up to 12 months, you can't list your property for lettings. You have to keep the property empty or need to stay yourself. Some other things which you will be able to do it after this bill become law is, you can move into the property back, or your children are moving back to the property. But again, once again, remember, if you're giving that reason that you're moving back to your own property, then that should be legitimate reason, and genuinely you should move to your property. You can't relet again. So you need to keep that in mind. If your tenant is behind the rent, so remember, we used to be just serving Section 8 notice, which is obviously fault eviction. And as you know that in Section 8, if the tenant is about 1 month and 3 days, is about, because rent in advance, so 1 month and 2 days, or 1 month and 1 day will become 2 month rent in arrears. And you can literally serve the notice to your tenants for eviction. So what's going to happen is, after this bill is, that notice period going to be extended. The tenant has to be in rent areas for at least 3 months. So again, the difference will be directly impacting to your letting income. What I personally suggest is, you need to make sure that if you want to change your tenant, this is the right time to change your tenants. But if you are happy with your tenants, fantastic. You got to remember that whenever any renewal comes, you got to make sure that your tenants is earning properly, or even they're claiming housing benefit or universal credit. You're absolutely allowed to, because they allowed to claim benefits. That's not a problem. And you can't put restrictions on them as well. However, you should do the calculation now. Till today, most of the landlord, what they do is, they believe that my tenant has got enough income to survive easily. But as inflation is going high, everything is getting expensive. Utility bills are so high. If you do not monitor your tenant's income, then it is possibly happen that in the near future, the tenants start following into the rent areas. Most of clients I come across who come to our office and says, my tenant is paying 200, 300 pounds constantly less rent, and now they have been about 2,500, 3,000 in the areas. And this is one of the prime example, because you do not check regularly your tenant's income, and that can make a really significant impact. Going further, I like to bring something to everyone's mind and to just clarify. I know mostly landlords are good landlords, but let me make you aware that when you are putting your advertisement into the WhatsApp group, or sometime you put into the Facebook specific area groups, or probably your ethnic background chat groups, we are mentioning that, okay, I want somebody, only a single woman or single male, or I want somebody who's a vegetarian. All those things will be strictly going to prohibited from October. National Trading Standard, which is called NTS, going to keep eye on each and every platform, how as a provider, means the landlord, placing the advertisement. So remember, it's not the estate agents has to follow the laws, landlord needs to follow the laws as well. And just for your information, the fine is from £30,000 to almost unlimited on the breaching of this marketing. We call it material information. So what I would suggest you is that make sure when you are now publishing your advertisement, whether on any social platform or with the agents, you just can't say a restrictive, they call it restrictive clauses, like protective characteristic. For example, disability. You can't say no pets, no animals, no dog, no cat. You can't say that. You can't say no benefits, no sharer, no students. And I also earlier mentioned clearly that you can't also say that a single female, single male, or a student is not allowed. So the reason being is, I believe, to keep all all your listeners are safe. So it is so essential that when you make next time your advert, you need to be very careful and very simple. You can literally either Google it if you want to, that what are the guidelines for material information for marketing my property for lettings and sales. If you have any doubt, you can contact us as well. We do provide 15 minutes free of charge consultation. And furthermore, I like to bring your attention. You always, everyone drives, right, in London. And before you renew your insurance every year, like a car insurance, you do get your MOT done of your car, that your car is worthy for the road. Same as I would strongly suggest, if you're portfolio landlords or you're the landlord in the market, you should check MOT of your tenancy. And what is MOT of tenancy is? It's a checklist. That is your gas safety certificate is up to date. Are you getting renewal done? Do you know, just for information, even if there is a gap in between last two gas safety certificate, which is CP12, you can't serve Section 21 notice to your tenants. And imagine when Section 21 is gone and only Section 8 is left, which is eventually a fault eviction. And now tenant is not at fault if you don't do your gas safety certificate. So you got to be making sure that you're compliant and your compliances are up to date. So let's discuss more about what are the checklists. And many people ask Sachin, oh, I know I've been doing lettings for 15 years. I'm doing lettings for 30 years. I know my how to let the property. But let me tell you certain things. And let's see, if you know that, fantastic. If not, nothing wrong to knowing and making the list of these things, or simply contact us and we will provide you the checklist. So first is gas safety certificate. It's so essential. If there is a gas supply to your properties or a solid fuel burn, you must have a gas safety certificate, okay? Like boiler or something, or gas cooker. Second is EICR. Many people are not aware. They think the electricity is safe in their property, but do you have up-to-date electric installation condition report? It's generally valid for 5 years. This gas safety certificate is valid for 1 year. EICR valid for 5 years. And it could be sometime only valid for 2 years or 1 year. So make sure your electric connections are up to date. Always read your certificates. Do not assume that you call your friendly Mr. Bob electrician and he know you for so long, so you think that the electric certificate is given is valid for 5 years. It may say that after 3 years is required a recheck. So those are the things I would like to bring on your attention, that EIC are so essential. Now let's move to another thing which is very common. So, previously it was part of HIP, Home Information Pack. I'm talking about EPC, Energy Performance Certificate. It's valid for 10 years. The law came in in 2008 it's become mandatory. But remember, after 2008, after 10 years, which is 2018, many EPCs are expired. Okay, I understand you might have get it done. But again, making sure you done EPC, or EPC doesn't cost too much. It costs about £100 max, right, to get the EPC done. But if you see what government is saying under new legislation, which is MES, MEES, Minimum Energy Efficiency Standard, they're saying that by 2028 or 2030, one or the other, depends how they are approaching, you will require minimum a rating of B to let your property out. And right now, if you check your EPC, which is very simple, go to government website or go to Google, write down EPC register and check your EPC. And you can check that your EPC might be expired or your rating is E, but you have just changed the boiler 2 years ago and your EPC was valid from last 8 years, so another 2 years left. However, I would strongly suggest that why don't you get your new EPC done, because you just changed the double glazing, or you may have changed entire electricity connections or wiring in your property. So EPC rating makes huge impact, and you believe me or not, the professional tenants do check EPC rating before they even select the property for viewing. That is our personal opinion and a professional opinion too. I've been in the industry for 18 years. I've seen that how tenants are getting smarter and they know their law more than landlord does. So I would strongly suggest to have a look to your EPC as well. Now let's move to something else. Many of your properties you let out, and then so imagine a property came available and is locked, is empty, and you keep doing viewings and you're not using water in the property, and it's been like 3 weeks and nobody used the water into the property. So the water is still in the pipeline and is stagnant, is not moving. Do you know when the temperature goes down 15, 20, which is very common, and under the floor, under the ground, it could be cooler, they can have a Legionella bacteria into that water. And you must do Legionella water test before you give a keys to your tenants. Now, half of the people might not aware of this Legionella. They might not have heard about this. Imagine you give the key to your tenants, they moved into the property, and it's very common in UK, we all drink straight away water from a tap. So if they drink that water, and that water contains the bacteria, and it directly going to impact to the heart, they have a heart disease which is mostly incurable. And if they die, I'm sorry to say, but if they die, directly claim is going to come on the landlord for manslaughtering, which is very, very, very dangerous. So I suggest you the small things you need to know being a landlord. Now for the moving, you know a booklet called How to Rent Guide? Now many landlords are letting the property, so they find someone from the workplace, straight away they maybe using Expedia or some other platform, and what they do is they simply do the credit check and they just take the passport copy and they give the tenancy agreement to the tenants. They are not even aware that they should be giving another 3 essential documents nowadays. One is How to Rent Guide, and there will be already 10 version of How to Rent Guide has been published from 2016 to 2026. In last 10 years, there is 10 How to Rent Guide came out, and you must give How to Rent Guide before your tenants move into the property. So you need to know that which year your tenant moved in. Have you given that years of How to Rent Guide to your tenants? So how interesting is those are the things to know. Last but not the least, I like to brought your attention to most essential bit, which will be very, very, very important if you're a landlord in the property. You must check if your tenant has got a visa to work and stay in UK. It's called rights to rent checks and rights to work check. Rights to rent checks must be done not only on named tenant, it must be done each and every one over age of 18 staying in your property. Now generally you only check your tenants, right? You don't check their son or their daughter or their wife. They all are probably above age of 18. And when home office knock your door and they will ask you where is the rights to rent checks on all the adults staying in your property above age of 18, the fine is each person £10,000. Now let's move on to renters reform bill. What's new coming into the market? Just for your information, probably I might come every Monday. So there will be always a new topic. And if you send these questions in advance to MATV or simply to email us, and we can include that in coming podcast. So the new thing which is coming with renters reform bill, which you need to aware as a landlord, is mandatory every property will require to be registered in government register. And every landlord will be also required to be registered themselves if they're letting their property out, even a studio, or even they are putting a paying guest in the property, to a landlord register. And it's a national database government is creating. As soon as the bill passes, the register will be available. Before marketing of the property, you will require to register yourself as a landlord and your property into the register. So just to give you a brief that even if you're an estate agent listening to this podcast, you need to be aware of this. Last but not the least, before I move to the sales market a little bit, because there is a lot of people are here who like to know what's happening with the sales market, and I don't have much time left as well. It's only half an hour I'll be here for. Last is OFSI check, OFSI consolidate list checks. So what you do is you go to the Google, write OFSI check, even on the tenants, not only on the buyer. OFSI check is a part of KYC CDD, know your client due diligence. It's like a AML before you select the buyer, or any agents select their vendor before putting the property in the market. They do AML checks. That OFSI checks is a sanction list, and any tenants you put it into the property, you must check if they are on the sanction list. And if they are on the sanction list, which is OFSI, OFSI, you must report to a relevant authority, and the guidance are available if you go and check on that. So just this was a little brief about the lettings, what is coming into the market. We'll discuss next time more, but let's move to the sales market. Yeah. So moving to the sales market, as you know, England, whether Wales, Scotland or Ireland, this fourth sector of the property market is right now struggling a lot. There are a lot of factors in the market. One is there is no guarantee, or there is uncertainty in the letting market. So all those buyers who generally buy property for buy to lets, they are very cautious that should they right now invest in their property or should they hold back with their funds in the bank. That's kind of uncertainty into the markets. Yes, definitely somebody said, is it a buyer's market? Yeah, it is a buyer's market. So what, property is not getting sold? No, properties does get sold as long as they've been listed properly with the proper agents and a proper price. If you miss to list the property with the right price, first of all, the buyer will not walk through your door. And if they do not walk through your door, the chances of selling the properties become almost nil. So what I suggest is, give a bit of idea, give a bit of thoughts, and give a bit of touch to your property before you shooting to the market. For example, get the property freshly done, paint it, clear the gardens, clear the clutter, make it presentable. Remember the first impression and the last impression when buyer walks through your door. It is so essential to prepare your property before you hit to the market. Now let's go about the property price. I always suggest that being a seller, being a vendor, and you hit into the market, everyone wants the best and they want to achieve maximum price about their property. But do you ever think that put yourself in the buyer's shoe and think that what would you pay for your property? And you will come to know, yeah, the maximum property sold on my road was 600,000 pounds. Okay, my property is little bigger than that. It has a little extra advantage. But that property cannot be worth 750,000 pounds. And then you list for 750,000 pounds, the similar property, little smaller, not much difference, sold for 600,000 pounds. The gap is 150,000 pounds. The gap is about 23% of a gap. So, especially, I would strongly suggest either you consult a qualified agents like us or somebody who you know for a long time, but you must check now. Is your current letting agents, is it your current sales agent? Are they qualified? Are they member of Property Mark? Are they registered agents? Are they keeping their clients up to date? Are they representing you and your property? So just in a nutshell, we are here to help, and the details is there in the bottom. You can visit us, take advantage of we generally give 15 minutes consultation with the sales letting. We do auction as well. We do block management as well. If you are block managing agent, I mean you're the director or secretary of the block management and you're managing yourself, you need to know what are your obligations towards being a director of that company which under you managing these flats. So thank you so much. Obviously, I appreciate that I got an opportunity to speak to you all. It was fantastic audience. I really appreciate that. This is Sachin Gupta from MATV. Thank you so much.
चलो घर बनाते हैं और आपको मिलवाते हैं आपके अपने बिल्डर से। सिंह ब्रदर बिल्डर्स, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जसवंत सिंह ठेकेदार। हर तरह का बिल्डिंग वर्क, न्यू बिल्डिंग, एक्सटेंशन, रेनोवेशन, पैटियो, गार्डन, गैरेज या शेड, हर तरह का काम अनुभवी कारीगरों द्वारा, सेटिस्फेक्शन गारंटेड। 50 साल के अनुभव के साथ सिंह ब्रदर बिल्डर्स। फॉर फ्री एस्टिमेट call 07930 508888. That is 07930 508888.